morning, good afternoon and good evening. I am Saskia aka Sassy Colouring and welcome to my review of the Ohuhu markers. As always, any opinions, views that you see in this video are just mine. They are personal opinion, my preference, my style. So what works for me might not work for you, and that's okay. Now with that out of the way, let's get into what you came here for and let's have a look what's inside the bag. So I have chosen the 120 pack that cost me £59.99 British pounds, and that translates into about €66 or about $78.50. So you can see that there is a beautiful range of colours. We have this 10% off voucher, and normally there is a colour chart that took me ages to find. So I always like to have a look at the colour swatch that they provide, just so that I can see what kind of colour range we've got. But as always, I never really rely on this for the true colour. If you're going to use the markers, you're going to want to do your own swatches, because you'll see what these markers look like on the paper that you're going to use. So although this is the 120 pack, you actually get 121, because you get the zero colourless blender. The grey strip shows us which end the fine nib is at, so when you're kind of in the middle of your drawer and you pick it up, you just look for the grey strip rather than which end is which. Sadly, the caps do not stack, so the IOIO markers, who I think are still available, I'm not sure, are still my favourite markers for having that function and feature. I don't know why nobody else does that. I do like the range of colours, but there is something else that I really like about this set, and that is that there are 4 fluorescent colours. The colour on the screen is not giving you a true representation of what these colours look like. The caps are so vibrant, they are so pretty. So yeah, I'm really excited to try these out. So when I swatch, I'm going to speed up the video because nobody's got time to watch all of that. I'm not even sure I have time to do all of that. I'll speed it up, voice over some info about these markers, and then we'll get into some colouring. Okay, so as I said, 121 markers. The price was 59 UK pounds or 60 UK pounds, around €66 or around $78.50. Postage was free with Prime, and delivery from wherever they came from to Ireland was approximately 15 working days. But we have to remember that we are in the middle of the pandemic, and so everything takes that little bit longer. I did initially want to try out the brush markers and see what they were like, because I do like the brush tips on markers. But there were so many people have used the brush markers and said how brilliant they are, I don't think I need to review those. So what I did was I went for the fine tip. They are the cheaper option of the two. Obviously the brush tip, they work slightly different and they cost more. So are these comparable to a brush tip marker? Can you use these and get a nice end result when you're colouring? So first of all, what I want to say about these colours are that they are laying down really nicely. The fine nib, I do a couple of strokes with the fine nib to see how fine I can get it, and then I use the chisel nib to do a big fat chunk of colour in and see how that lays down. So what do you look for, excuse the traffic, what do you look for when you're getting new markers? It's such a personal preference that while I'm enjoying these Ohuhu markers and I don't mind the fact that they're a fine nib, you mightn't like that at all. You might be so used to the brush tip that the fine nib feels really alien. Also, I wanted to take into consideration the price. The pack of 120 was £60, as I said. It was £85 for the brush tip. So converting that, for me, I was paying €66, or I could have added another €30 and bumped it up to 95. €100 in this climate at the minute is a lot of money to spend on markers when I'm getting the exact same marker and ink, just a different nib. So that was something else that I had to consider. Again, in dollars, it went from about $78.50 to $111. So around $80 to $111, another $30 jump. Is the brush tip worth that to you? When you break it down, these markers, whether they're fine tip or brush markers, are still under €1. They come out at about 55 cents or 79 cents in euro per marker. That's phenomenal for the quality that these markers are. So the immediate cons that I can find for these markers are: 1, you can't buy them singular. 2, they're not refillable. And 3, my bugbear, the caps do not stack. I only say that because I'm the queen of taking off the pen cap, putting it to the side, and then having to search for like an hour and a half after, because either I've put it down and then dropped it, or one of the kids has come in and knocked it out the way, yada yada yada. So when they stack, I just find that so much easier for myself. Buying them singular, I always think that that's a great option. There are the Winsor & Newton sell singular, Copic sell singular, and that means that if you've got a colour that you really like, you're not having to go out and buy a set of markers just to get the colour that you use often. It does sound like common sense, but unfortunately with a lot of markers, if you do have 1 or 2 colours that you use more, mostly like the greys or the blacks for me, then you have to go out and buy a whole other set. So you'll have 10 of one colour that you don't use very much and no black. The alternative to that is obviously to have refillable markers. Like, we pay a lot for our Copics, but we can refill them. So maybe that's an idea. That's the only drawback about these markers, is that although the price is great for them, I still feel like spending that little bit extra can give you more in the long run. So if you go for the Copic Chow, which again is definitely more expensive, but in the long run you're not having to buy another set to get one color, and you can refill it. So let's get back to the Ohuhu. The reason I laugh is that I've done this about 10 times now. You won't hear it, but I can't say the word Ohuhu anymore without laughing. It's such a funny word. Am I the only one that finds this? So I'm getting close to the end, and I've got the fluorescent markers, and obviously I've filmed this and now I'm doing the voiceover, and I just can't express how lush these colours are. The camera is doing them no justice at all. They really just pop off the page, and I got so many ideas of what I'd like to do with these markers using these colours. As you can also see by my chart, I managed to mess up so many different things, write the wrong number in, colour the wrong colour in. But if you do that, there is a handy way to correct it, is that I use my white gel pen, and if you see the two that I coloured in the wrong boxes, I know I have no idea how, but I coloured them in the wrong boxes. So then I go over with the white gel pen on top, because it really stands out, and you can see that that was a mistake. This is the colour you actually want. So this is all 121 colours of the Ohuhu, I'm such a muppet, Ohuhu markers in all their glory. I am quite surprised actually how well the colours on their swatch chart relate to my swatch chart. They are very, very similar. So yeah, great job on that, Ohuhu. But still, I always do my own, because you never know when the colour is going to look one type on their chart, one type on the cap, and then a completely different colour on your paper. The bag is nice, But as always, I would suggest that you get something to store your markers horizontally, so that the ink runs evenly through the entire pen and not just to one side. I'm going to put these away now, and we are going to do some colouring. So today I'm going to be colouring one of the girls from the Sassy Steampunk Sweetheart collection. Say that 10 times faster. They are on Etsy, they are a bundle of 3, and the link is in the description. If you want to be put into a draw to win a PDF copy of this bundle, like the video and leave a comment down below, and then in a few days I will draw a winner. So this is the girl I have chosen to colour. She doesn't have a name yet. I have had a bit of a play around with colour combinations in between charging my camera, etc. So I've got a good idea in my mind what I want to do and what colours I want to use. She is printed on just plain card. You can actually buy Ohuhu paper, which works best with the markers, or so I've been told. I don't know, I haven't tried it. But I tend to buy a big pack of card from what would be our kind of discount store. It's called Mr. Price. You get 50 sheets, I think, for about €3. Not expensive, not cheap, but it's nice quality. There's not a massive tooth on it, so I enjoy using this card. And I'm also not too worried if I mess it up because there's plenty there to use. So I have sped up the video again. This is ×8, so it's 8 times faster than what it did take me to do. So I did find that these markers lay down really well. The colour is very even, the ink is very even. They stay wet long enough for you to blend, but not so long that you're smudging everything. As with most markers, if you layer on layer on layer on layer while they're wet, they do bleed. And I think when you're trying to work with new markers, you've got to find out where their bleeding point is. You've got to find out how long you've got to work with them. And I found that these were really generous actually. They were, like I say, wet long enough that you could still blend, but they weren't staying wet for ages and ages and ages. For sure, there were plenty of different colours to do the skin tones. You could do a much lighter skin tone, and I am going to try doing a much darker skin tone on the next one. I'm not very good at dark skin tones at the moment, so that's why most of my girls are kind of this skin tone, because that's where I'm comfortable. But we got to challenge ourselves, right? We've got to move out of our comfort zones. If you get too comfortable doing one skin tone and one colour of skin, then move on to another and challenge yourself, keep pushing yourself. That's where the joy comes from for me, I think, in art, is continuously trying new stuff. I always say I don't want to have a style, although I do have a style at the minute. I want to make sure that I don't get niched into a style or stuck in a style. Always try new things, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, then just try something different. So while I'm not showing you what colours I'm using in this video, if you do want a slower, more in-depth video that's going to be about 3 hours long, then you can go over to my Patreon channel and subscribe there. I think from the 2nd tier up, they all get the video each month, and this month they will get the video where I've gone into depth on how I'm blending the colours, what I'm doing to pull out different colours, and the colours that I'm using. I think there are between 4 and 6 different reds in her dress, and to me the fact that you can only really see 1 or 2 means that these are blending beautifully. If you could see that there were 6 different colours in her dress, then maybe that would be the fact that they're not blended so well, or haven't blended so well. My grammar is atrocious. But they really do kind of give you this flawless result, and I didn't use the colourless blender at all to get these colours to work together. They just the colors are so matched that you can choose that nice range of colors within the color family, the reds, the blues, the greens, whatever, to give you that lovely color. So I did try out something a little bit different with the hair. Again, this is where I most find the difference between a fine nib and a brush nib, because with the brush nib you definitely can get better hair strokes, and it'll give you a nicer overall look, I think. This is my personal preference, so it could be just that I don't know how to use the fine nibs properly yet, but I feel like when I use the brush nibs I just get a nicer look. So this was definitely a learning curve for me, but also I enjoyed it, and I think it turned out okay, even though I was using colours that I wouldn't normally use for the hair as well. This also was a chance to see how the colours would blend together when they were, say, quite different. So I used the black, the dark blue, the mid blue and the light blue, and so the black and the blue I wanted to see how they would blend together, because I wanted to give it kind of an ombre effect down her pigtails. Yeah, pigtails. And honestly, they did not disappoint. It was a colour scheme I hadn't used with markers before. I've done it with colouring pencils, but I wanted to use the markers, and it was something that I hadn't done with the fine nib rather than the brush nib. So there was a lot of different things that were going to go wrong here through my error, not the markers. And honestly, they kind of took the work out of it, and they made my feeble attempt look nice. I really enjoy how it turned out. So my concluding thoughts on these markers. I really enjoyed using them. They have got a quality that is comparable definitely to Winsor & Newton. They do side up quite well with Copics, and their price point puts them in a really affordable range for the set of 120 markers. I am a bit overwhelmed by how well they've worked. I enjoyed using them, they blended well. I'm going to keep saying blended, I think that's the word. The colour range is phenomenal. All in all, I loved them. If you do want to get your hands on this Etsy bundle and you don't want to go through the shenanigans of liking, commenting, yada yada yada, just head over to Etsy and they're on sale there. If you enjoyed the video and the review, show some love by hitting the subscribe button. Don't forget to click the notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Like the video so that I know that you enjoyed it. Thank you to all my wonderful subscribers, Patreon members, colouring team, and all the colourists for your support. Look after yourselves, keep safe, and as always, stay sassy.